the Unit 7 notes from the Master ASL textbook being read aloud. Daily routines and activities. Describing what you do every day is an important language skill. In this section, you will learn how to explain recurring activities and routines. Look closely at the way ASL handles phrases like on Sundays and every afternoon. Can you see a relationship between the parameters of the signs and the calendar? What is it? Every day's vocabulary. Every signs are part of the when group of signs, so they come first in sentences. See Eyes on ASL 5 to review when signs. Every signs can be interpreted as every or as on interchangeably, but don't use the during sign with them. Every signs are made using the hand shape for the day of the week, moving it down as if through each week on a calendar. On the right-hand side of the PowerPoint slide is a picture of a drawing of the sign every Monday. Accent steps. Use between only when signing about time, as in I get up between 7:30 and 8, or I have to see the nurse at 10 or 11. The two pictures show around on the left-hand side, which is a 5-hand circling, and between, which is a shoulder shift, showing two different times. ASL up close. Spatial organization. The English word then is often used to describe a series of events, as in this sentence. I woke up at 9, then I went to class, then I went to work, and then I went home. American Sign Language has a visual way of organizing information into groups of related thoughts, actions, or details. This grouping is called spatial organization. Spatial organization uses shoulder shifting and the group sign to separate details into related groups. Add a new group and shoulder shift for each additional series of details. The picture at the bottom of the slide shows this description, just in illustration. Eyes on ASL number 14. Use spatial organization to group related information together. Along with spatial organization, you may also need to incorporate the listing and ordering technique. Deaf Culture Minute. Earlier, you learned that deaf people use visual or vibrating devices for alarms, doorbells, and other alerts. This includes alarm clocks. Just as hearing people wake to a sound, deaf people wake to a flashing light or vibration. Expression Corner. The errand sign is a common expression to say you have a lot to do. Use errands to sign about being busy in general or when describing specific errands. The picture on the left shows the sign for errands. Hygiene and care. Many signs for common hygiene products use classifiers to depict their action or purpose. For example, what do you think is the sign for shampoo? If you can think of shampoo, then you already know how to sign wash my hair. Follow the clues provided to determine how each sign is made for the products on the next slide. These are also in the textbook. Did you know? It takes more than selecting the captions button on your television set for closed captioning to work. Each word and sound is keyed into a program that is then attached to the original material. If material has not been captioned already, then closed captioning will not work. For many years, the National Association of the Deaf, abbreviated NAD, has lobbied to have captioning offered on television, movie screens, and other locations accessible to the public. Captioning does not only benefit the deaf, but hard of hearing and hearing people as well. Since the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, abbreviated ADA, in 1990, captioning has become increasingly available and is now common on music videos, news broadcasts, commercials, and home videos and DVDs. To learn more, visit www.nad.org or www.ncicap.org. The picture on the bottom left just shows the two logos that indicate captioning is available. Accent steps. Change the location of the to shave sign to modify its meaning. The X form of to shave is not used on the head. The images show on the left-hand side an illustration of the sign to shave under someone's arm with a Y hand shape, and the picture on the right shows to shave a head with the Y hand shape. ASL up close, noun verb pairs in American Sign Language. The top right corner shows two pictures of the sign airplane or airport, and then on the right, the picture is to fly to. The difference between these two signs is the movement. What similarities do you see in these two sentences? Look closely and think of how each would be signed. I go to fly, chair, fly, or number 2, I go to the airport, sit down, and the plane departs. Each sentence is signed exactly the same way except for one parameter difference, movement. The movement parameter changes nouns into verbs, or sentences like the first one into the second. Many ASL nouns and verbs share every parameter except movement. These signs are called noun-verb pairs. Nouns and verbs can be tricky, so keep an eye on the movement differences for each. Nouns typically have a double back and forth movement. Verbs typically have one solid movement or a wider back and forth movement than nouns. Another way to understand noun-verb pairs is to think of what the signs show or do. See below for an example using the noun-verb pair scissors and to cut. The example is a picture that says example noun-verb pair, scissors and to cut. It shows the picture of the sign for scissors. The sign scissors demonstrates the back and forth movement of the blades, but not the action of the cutting. And then there's a picture of a person cutting paper with scissors. And then there's a picture of a drawing of the sign to cut. And it says, by showing scissors doing something, an action is made and the noun changes to the verb to cut. Accent steps. Use the sign clothes to sign wear, and use the sign use when signing about non-clothing items like glasses and shoes. And the pictures below have the signs for clothed and use. Yes, the sign language continuum. Pidgin signed English, abbreviated PSE. Many hearing individuals who know sign language actually use ASL signs in English word order. Those who mouth English words matched to every sign are using PSE. Some signers are very English, while others are very ASL. A PSE signer might not know or use each of the various signs needed for the different meanings of the sign of the word run. English codes. These codes aim to show every word, prefix, and suffix in spoken English, using signs borrowed from ASL or by creating new ones. These are not languages and cannot exist separate from English. Most codes use one sign for one word, regardless of the meaning or concept of the English word and the sign. For example, the sign below could be used for each concept of run, since it is the sound of the word rather than its meaning that is important. Here are some codes to be aware of. Seeing Essential English from the 1970s, Linguistics of Visual English, also from the 1970s, and Signing Exact English from the 1980s, which is still in use. The picture at the bottom right is the C sign for run, using 2R handshapes. A code is an artificial way of conveying information, like Morse code or Braille. It is a system that must be memorized. Signing Exact English, or C, is one code that represents each word in spoken or written English, including prefixes and suffixes. For one word in spoken or written English, there's only one C sign to represent it, regardless of the concept underlying the word. A well-known example is the word butterfly. One code breaks the concept into two terms, butter and to fly. The term manually coded English refers to any code representing the English language. How do ASL, PSE, and C differ from each other? Using the sample sentence, I am going to the store, differences are easy to spot. The ASL picture shows the sign store, me, go to, and says, the topic comment structure of ASL quickly establishes meaning and a visual concept. Below that is the PSE version of that sentence that uses the signs I go to store. While using ASL signs in English word order, PSE is neither good English nor ASL. The signer overlooks the preposition already included in to go to and signs I go to store. Most C signs use the first letter of the printed English word, indicated by the blue circles. Endings such as ing, s, ed are also included, seen in the red circle, and ASL signs are modified or supplanted by new artificial signs shown in green. In many ways, watching C is like reading English on the hands. The picture of the C sentence, I am going to the store, shows the English sign I and am, then the English sign go with the ending ing, the English sign to, the English sign the, and then the English sign for store. Why have PSE or English codes in the first place? All manually coded English systems were created to help deaf people learn English, and each sign has its own benefits and drawbacks. A common criticism is that codes attempt to teach us a language via a system that is itself not a language. For many hearing signers, PSE is a convenient middle ground between ASL and English, since ASL's complicated grammar is ignored in favor of English structure. Unfortunately, this means deaf people must constantly interpret what the hearing signer says and means. Beginning in the 1990s, schools across the country now use ASL to teach English as a foreign language to deaf students. This approach is called the bilingual bicultural model because it emphasizes ASL and English as distinct and equally important languages and cultures. So what does the sign language continuum mean? The sign language continuum means there is a wide variety of signing among people. Some use only ASL, some use PSE when signing with hearing people, and others use C or a combination of it all, depending on the circumstances. As an ASL student, it is important to remember you are learning a foreign or second language and not simply a way to code English. If you become fluent in ASL, you will be able to move along the continuum from ASL to C and back again and have a valuable skill. Those who learn PSE tend to struggle to understand or sign ASL, though deaf people who learn C first tend to pick up ASL quickly. ASL up close, describing clothing. Use topic comment structure when describing clothing. Topic comment structure means the topic, what is being described, comes first, with additional comments following. The image shows the sign sentence, that person is wearing a black jacket and bright blue shirt. And the signs are, they wear jacket, black, shirt, blue, they. Deaf culture note, turn taking and exchanging information. Inexperienced signers find maintaining a conversation awkward or difficult, especially if both signers begin signing at the same time or wait for the other to sign something. If you watch fluent signers interact, you may have noted how fast the conversation flows, with very few awkward pauses or stops. This is because deaf people are familiar with a code of ASL turn-taking strategies. In spoken languages, turn-taking strategies include raising one's voice and talking over another, though this is considered rude, making various sounds like uh-huh, or waiting for a natural pause to interject a comment. Similar strategies apply to sign conversations. Watch for closing signals at the end of statements or questions to be ready to respond naturally, and keep an eye on facial expressions or non-manual signals to know when it is your turn to sign. ASL turn-taking strategies include closing signals, question maker and WH face, using the hold-on sign to ask someone to pause or wait, moving up your hands to signal to the person signing that you wish to communicate, using the go on sign to ask someone to continue signing after an interruption or when both signers begin signing at the same time. Up in the top right corner is the go on or continue sign. I want to know, why do some signs have more than one meaning? A better question for students to ask is, why are there so many words in English that mean the same thing? Wondering why signs have more than one meaning most likely results from matching one English word to just one ASL sign. Rather than thinking this way, try to understand the meaning of a concept, whether it is an ASL sign or an English word. As you learned in Unit 5, the meaning of some signs is influenced by the literal or abstract definition of a word. Some signs have very subtle differences that many hearing signers overlook, like noun-verb pairs, while other nuances that affect meaning are conveyed by non-manual signals. Yet some signs are the same and have different meanings. How does that work? How does one know the difference? The answer is the two C's, concept and context. What is the concept? The image shows the signer signing clothes, clothing, or dress, and it says clothing, dress, and to wear all share the same concept, something covering one's body. And beside that, it has the picture of signing male cousin and female cousin. The English language lacks words for some ASL concepts, such as the influence of gender on cousin. What is the context? When the meaning of a single sign or word changes depending on how it is used in a sentence, then that sign's meaning depends on context. For example, the ASL sign pictured on the left means both shirt and to volunteer. Neither meaning shares a concept, so why do they share the same sign? The answer is a matter of opinion. The role of context becomes clear with this example. If someone is signing about clothing and uses this sign, then the meaning is clear, shirt. However, if signing about a project or activity, then the context means volunteer. Paying attention to context is essential. The more you practice, the more you'll just know the differences between signs that have more than one meaning. The picture on the right shows the sign for volunteer or shirt. Describing clothing. Describing clothing in detail is an important way to develop your classifier skills. The goal is to create a clear visual image of the object being described. Classifiers. In this section, you will learn how ASL uses classifiers as prepositions instead of separate signs in, on, under, over, behind, in, next to, or in front of. Classifier C shows cylindrical or handheld objects. The classifier C classifier is used with cylindrical objects that fit into the hand shape, as shown in the illustration. On the bottom right corner is the classifier C hand and holding an imaginary cup. The concept of table or any flat surface is provided by classifier B. As you can see, there is no need for a separate sign for on since the two classifiers convey the meaning automatically. Because signs and classifiers function as visual prepositions, ASL does not have many signs dedicated to that purpose. The picture at the top shows the sentence, "Don't put the glass on the table," using the signs, "Don't do that," cup or glass, and then showing the cup on the table using a classifier C for the cup and a classifier base B as the table.